So, welcome to our conversation today, from rights to reality, as we commemorate the International Women's Day. And we'll basically be speaking about what justice looks like for various African women. I know you cannot speak for all the African women because we're different, and there is 55 African countries. But the intention of today's conversation is to have your perspective from your experience. So my name is Whitney Mwangi. I'm the founder of the Storybook Africa, and the Storybook Africa is a creative social enterprise that is youth-centered and Christian-centered. Basically, our business is empowering youth in Africa for their healing, growth, and development journey. And today we are pleased to welcome you to partner with AHDA to hear more about what you do and the impact that you are playing in the community. So maybe to kick us off, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do at AHDA and why AHDA is important.
Okay, thank you so much, Whitney, for such a good welcoming remarks. And thank you to Storybook also for organizing this platform, which is kickstarting reflection on what are the realities of African women. So my name is Dr. Mary Nicholas. I I work at AHDA as head of program. So AHDA is a youth organization registered and currently operating in Tanzania with three thematic areas of climate and health, community engagement, and health system strengthening. And in this context of reflection of realities of African women, I will take it a connection with its links with what we have been doing to the communities. Most of our projects are community based, and we have been interacting with women where we've been meeting how climate change has affected their lives. They've been sharing their real stories. And also we have also programs that empower women. For instance, for this March, we have Her Impact Guide. It's a specific program that recognizes young leaders, women, and links them with mentors so that to capacitate them to do more to their communities. And so I look forward to great conversation and thank everyone who has joined this conversation. Looking forward to learn more, to exchange, and so on. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you are in the field of quite a dynamic of issues, because we know climate, empowerment, community engagement is very important in today's era. So moving forward onto the conversation about women, particularly African women. So as it stands, there's about 16.7 million girls who are not able to access education or are out of school for many reasons. As you can imagine, when you interact with them through your community projects, there are many reasons that come up. And of course, because of a lack of education or literacy levels, this ultimately affects how employable women are. So perhaps to start off with that background, when you hear rights of young women outside this context that I've mentioned and more your context, what does that mean to you in the lived reality of the communities that you serve?
Okay, so when I hear this, I always often think about the women that we've been meeting in the community dialogues. I remember there was this interesting conversation with one of the women in Lindy who shared her experience after how they experienced climatic changes of flood, and that destroyed her crops. But the concern was not only that she lost her crops, but the fear that if she was pregnant and needed an urgent care, what would happen? Because there was destruction of road infrastructures that leads to the health facilities. So that moment, it kind of reminded me that rights are not just policies or international commitments, but it's reflected in the very simple and powerful realities of these women if they have timely access to healthcare. If their children, especially daughters, they have access to quality education, access to information. They have a freedom of speech where they can they express their thoughts. They can take fully part in decision making. So rights, justice, and action. It's most of moving from just promises to real experiences, and ensuring that women are not just included in discussion, but their realities shape the solution. And sometimes the most powerful action is simply just creating space where women can just say, this is our experience and this is what needs to change.
I love that. I mean, the example is quite, I would say, a reflective example of what happens in a lot of the communities where their daily livelihoods are affected. And now to the health aspect of it, because I know this is an area that you're passionate about. What do you think changes or shifts about how a woman thinks about her rights when she has access to healthcare?
So I'll particularly maybe when you look at the perspectives of young women, most of them, they know that health facilities are there. But if you ask them, do they feel comfortable to go to those healthcare facilities and seek help for instance, reproductive health education? There's almost a pause because they have this fear of being judged. So for young women, her right to feel real is when she can walk in health facilities, feel free to express her needs, if it is educational, if it's something which needs medical attention, and get treated with dignity, respect, and without having that fear that she'll be judged, like maybe cultural perspective, you're still an adolescent, you're not supposed to have these conversations on contraceptives or sexual competition. So, and moreover, like when we are talking about health system, we're not just encouraging building infrastructures, it's also making sure the services that we provide are youth friendly. And we can also, as we witness globally, like we have hundreds of women dying due to maternal health. And most of the reasons that, if you follow, they are the reason that they could be prevented. Like if you look at the 3-day delay model, you see that it starts from the household levels. Now, these are not just statistics. These are the lives of these young women. These are the lives of these women. So what what can we do for us to make sure we strengthen our community health system, to make sure that women, as they feel safe whenever they have these health problems, and they can access health services, and in those environments, young women can feel empowered to make their decision about their health and so for their future.
All right. I appreciate that because in most aspects, we find that the leaders prioritize the presence of the facilities as opposed to prioritizing the usability of the facility. So what you're pointing out is that they are friendly, they are relevant, that the facilities are friendly, are relevant, and that the people know that it's a safe space for them to access the healthcare that they need. Now, if we can put that into a context that is, let's say, practical to what is happening now, do you have an example where you've led maybe youth-friendly adoption of a practice or a system in a healthcare facility or in the community that you serve, in a way that caused youth to, take up more services or even approach a facility, to say?
Oh, so usually what we have for us, we have the peer-to-peer model where we go to universities and we take a cohort of maybe young females and give them a space to exchange, firstly to understand what is their need in health perspectives. And then one of the models we used it in mental health issues. Like we train them how they can understand about mental health, how can they seek care when someone feels like they have this challenge and how can they help each other, so that we create like a linkage or a platform for them to be ambassadors to help their other fellows. Because sometimes maybe it wouldn't be easy if an outsider just goes there and you just tell me you're supposed to do this and this. They may not take it um so easily or that fast as expected. But using the same people, same young women in the population, the people that they live with, the people that they see, then it's easy for them to adapt. And also another model, we have also been working closely with community health workers. So we usually have this uh, on and off training with the community health workers. Community health workers, they're the ones that they're responsible to be translating these health policies and education to the household levels. So usually the selection comes at the people who come from the local communities. So they play a part by making sure this education does not just reach the youth alone, but even the parents, to educate the parent to see that it's normal for your adolescent to seek for contraceptive care. It's normal for your adolescent maybe to have some other health issues, and they can go to the health facilities where there's a family planning section and get care without judgments, without a parent seeing that now I'm losing my baby or whatever.
Wow, that's very interesting, and I would love to see these models expanded across African countries. I know that for community health workers, there's an entire initiative led by WHO, Africa CDC, and the African Union. I think UNAIDS was also extensively involved, but when it comes to peer-to-peer learning, I think I've seen maybe mental health initiatives, but this has been piloted in very few countries, Zimbabwe, and now here in Tanzania. So it would be great to see these models expanded through Africa, and perhaps see some of your case studies published in domains where politicians, policymakers, even young people can access the impact results, so that we are able to scale that up.
Oh, yeah, sure. So with we usually hold forums and engagements, as well as that, like we have series of webinars. So we try to share some of the stories to the webinars and our website and social media, but still much work still need to be done.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that we are here today collaborating, hopefully to expand the reach of some of this information. So thank you so much, Dr. Suke. I have about 2 more questions for you, but so far, if you've just joined the webinar, welcome, karibu sana. Thank you for making time to join this conversation on International Women's Day. We're talking about from rights to reality, what justice looks like in the lives of young African women. And we have the pleasure of hosting Dr. Mary Suke, who's the head of programs at Amplify Health and Development in Africa, AHDA, that's based in Tanzania. Though we may be locally based, our impact is felt globally. So I want to open the floor for any questions. If there are people who have questions, maybe you can drop them in the chat before we start heading to the final questions. So anyone with a question, feel free to let us know where you're from. Raise your hand, let us know where you're from, and ask your question. Do I see any hands? I'm not sure. Ladies, don't feel shy. You don't have to put your video on. You feel free to drop your question in the chat, or just unmute and ask your question. Okay. So I guess people are feeling inspired and just active listening today, and not necessarily in a inquisitive mode. So what I've heard from you, Dr. Suke, up to this point is that we need to move away from commitments are great. The political commitments, the policies are great to have. Infrastructure is good to have, the hospitals, clinics, Medical practitioners are good to have. Medical tools, medicine, all of that is good to have. However, they need to be relevant, they need to be applicable, there needs to be access to them, and there needs to be that guaranteed safety and security to know that all this infrastructure and all this commitment exists for each and every young woman to benefit from them and experience, equitable access at whatever time that they need without disrupting their day-to-day lives. You've given us a wonderful example of the lady who had a, climate-related incident, and her concern was more about her health and if she can have access to that. So, building on your example, how do you see that institutions can better trust and invest in youth-led solutions that uphold the rights of young women and girls? And institutions can be AHDA, can be governmental institutions, can be youth-led institutions.
Yeah. So as you say, like in every health problem or in every development goal, you cannot work in silos. You need collaboration. And the collaboration parts are there, but one of the most important shifts that institutions, I think they can make is improving from just consulting youth or just inviting them to these dialogues or discussion and truly partnering with them, because young people are often invited to enter conversations, but they are rarely gets a chance to really be in the position of making this decision. So trust means allowing youth to lead initiatives, to manage resources, to shape the strategies, to believe that they themselves, since they are the ones who are experiencing and living with realities, then they are the ones who can really suggest solutions. So institutions should recognize the intersection between global challenges and youth leadership. Issues like climate change, digital transformation, now we have AI coming, it's very hot, are shaping the future that young people inherit. So you cannot be in a table discussing about how AI is affecting health or how AI can improve health, and you have not involved youth who are going to be the future generation, or the young women who currently are already experiencing inequalities. Then what will happen to them and to their future offsprings? So in our experience, when institutions genuinely support leadership, because I can also see as a head of programs, most of programs we co-create. When it comes to if you're going to the communities, then you go to the communities, you involve them from the designing stage, from the discussing if this thing is going to be feasible. Because if you keep doing these things on the table, you'll be assuming, this is the problem, data are there, and there are lots of interventions already. There are a lot of people who have been going to these communities, meeting with young people, talking to them. But what is not causing the change? Because they do not own the intervention. They feel like it's something which was brought for them, that for a short time, and maybe sometimes feel it's for beneficiaries of someone else, but it goes from them from with the co-creation purpose, they feel involved. So they own the project, and it even enhances sustainability of the intervention.
Wow, interesting. So that co-creation aspect that you bring about, I've seen that sometimes it's horizontal, where the young people are the ones who are saying, you need to involve us, you need to include us. And sometimes it's been vertical, where maybe the leadership are the ones approaching the young people, or the people at the community are the ones who are asking the young people to kind of step up, So from what you just said, what do you think is really the hindrance that causes organizations to not want to involve the youth? I know sometimes it's an integrity issue, where you want to just cook things up and get it to the field as fast. But besides that, what other hindrances do you think are there?
So I think maybe also there has to be readiness because co-creation comes with challenges.
Mm.
Because sometimes you have your timeline and you might not expect people moving at your pace. So before co-creating, it's I think it's mandatory for organization before just saying the word, maybe to fully understand what is co-creation. And then you read your community. And then after reading your community, you'll be able to choose what method will be easy for you to use to approach the population that you're working with. For instance, if you want to work with youth, um, I cannot just say I'm going to a place and randomly selecting youth or whatever, but I will research and see if there are youth committees, maybe there are youth advisory clubs or whatever. So you go to them because they are a representation of what's there in the community. And maybe you want to involve more of the communities. What platform are you going to use? Are you going directly to just call out people or you know, so I think we all need to be not just saying like doing preparation, but also be dedicated to know like more about it and how can you do it. So I remember there's some trainings on co-creation, and I myself I must say I thank HDA because I got the chance to get that training on
Mm.
co-creation. So I encourage like we can also learn this thing, maybe train the organization staff so they'll be able to understand what it is, how it can be done. So whenever someone comes up with an idea, they will have it primarily in their mind. But if someone already made the sketch and everything and you ask them that you're supposed to co-create, of course that will bring a little bit of delay or maybe a little bit of confusion.
I see. And I'm really glad to know that AHDA is creating such opportunities for co-creation and the trainings that are relevant in this, because truly, if we're not building programs with the people that they will
Mm,
affect, it's kind of
mm, mm,
counterintuitive, right?
for sure. Mm,
Right. Okay, that's good. So before we close, I just have one reflection for you.
mm.
You could redefine one fundamental right for every young woman that they should absolutely experience, not just legally, but
Yeah.
emotionally and socially. What would that be?
I think I would, from all this, and maybe from also my personal experience, I would choose the right to be heard. Why is that? I also expect from my personal experience, like right now, I am like apart from my career journey, like I can look at it. Firstly, I did medical profession, think that I'm going to be a medical doctor, and I say like I love the profession. But then when I was given a chance to express myself, to express different things, it made me to keep changing, to keep updating what I want. Then until then, I fell in love with community health, and I had that right to say now I'm changing the path. I'm going to specialize in community health. But if there was maybe hinders, maybe parental hinders, like they're not supporting you. Like, we thought you're going to be a medical doctor practicing. Now you're telling us you want to divert.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I was given the right to be listened to and to be understood, the right to be directed, and also um for for girls to feel like uh they are heard, then they need to be empowered. You know, you're not just hearing them out, but also you empower them to be able to reach their dreams. So the same as like what we do with her impact Gara. So there's these two projects. Her impact Gara is to recognize a young woman, making sure that what you're doing is valid. What you are doing is brings impact in the community. But then that is not enough. Now that's why we have another project as a unit guitar, whereas this woman has a chance to be capacitate in digital skills, to get mentorship and in financial and entrepreneurship. It means you give them the platform also to live what they feel at that moment. So if I could just refine, I would just say every African every African girl should grow up feeling safe to speak. They should be confident to learn, to dream, and certain that have a presence, like what I'm doing really matters. If I go to somewhere, it means I have value. I add value in that place, and then not just in one day, like maybe in March 8th, that's when women should feel like we value, we celebrate. That should be every day, and it should be generational.
I love that. Every day and generation. So for
Yeah.
all the women who are on here, remember joy, love, the right to be heard. Dr. Suke is advocating hard for it's an everyday agenda, not just 8th of March. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
your brilliant insights and just being present with us on here today. So as we close, where can people find you on social media? Yeah.
Oh, okay. So on social media, I think I mostly use LinkedIn. So you can find me with the name Mary Nicolaus. But also, if you go to our social medias or institutions of social media, you will find there Amplify Health and Development in Africa. Um, you can also find me in the website. You'll find a place where you can send the email, and maybe I can also share my email on the. Okay, wait. I wanted to share my email on the chat box also.
All right. No worries. I can make sure that's
Yeah,
available to everyone. So for those who joined the conversation midway, do not worry about this. We will upload this session on our YouTube page. That's the Storybook Africa. And you have been listening to the very wise Dr. Mary Suke from Amplify Health and Development in Africa. And she's the head of programs. So I guess that's that. Enjoy the rest of your day. Safe trip. I know you have a trip coming up. Um,
yeah, sure.
Happy International Women's Day to everyone who is joining us. And big shout out to my great friend Alois Urasa, who made this engagement happen for us.
For sure.
All
Thank
right.
you very much. Happy International Women's Day.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.